Welcome to the New Flat Rate podcast. In this podcast, we talk to industry leaders and contractors about real tangible tools you can implement in your service business today. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Danielle Putnam, president of the New Flat Rate. And in this episode, I'm very excited to introduce you to Don Hilderbrand. Don is a contractor and owner of Plum Smart Technologies in Asheville, North Carolina. Today, Don and I are going to talk about how to find and retain technicians and how to actually set pay plans, incentive performance pay plans based on the technician so that you can create two-way loyalty. Don actually is going to share in this episode something really interesting, how he has created individual plans based on what the technician cares most about and what's important to them. It's really fascinating. And also, Don is a customer and contractor of the New Flat Rate. So he will also share some of the things that he's learned with implementing the New Flat Rate among his team. And also, of course, hiring and finding and retaining more and new technicians. So we've got lots to talk about today. Listen in. Hi, I'm Danielle Putnam with the New Flat Rate. Very excited to introduce my guest today, Don Hilderbrand, who's a contractor and owner of Plum Smart Technologies in Asheville, North Carolina. Don, welcome.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here today. You know, Don, I've been hearing great things about your company, and that's why I had to have you on the podcast. I've been hearing, well, you guys are a customer of the New Flat Rate, so thank you for that. I'm glad that we're able to partner and work together. I would love to hear about that. But I've also just been hearing the stories and the success that you've had running your team. But before we dive in too much, would you mind giving us a little overview of yourself, your company, maybe even starting with your background? I know our audience would love to hear how you got into contracting.
Well, that's a sordid story. I've been plumbing for about 30 years.
Okay.
In some form or fashion. I started out digging ditches for fire mains back when I was 16 years old in high school, and then I've done various things through the years in it. But plumbing has just always been for me, has just always been a very rewarding profession. We do service. We're 90, I'd say we're probably 93% service, and the rest of it's going to be remodel. And we may have 1% of our business is new construction. We may do one new construction a year. But not typically. It's only for select contractors that don't get into tract housing and stuff like that.
Sure.
But then we've been on the flat rate system now for, I think we started it in February of last year, I want to say.
On my paper, it says in 2019, at the end of 2019. So beginning.
Well, yeah, I was actually talking to you all at the end of 19. We actually spoke, but by the time I actually got people trained and using it was at the very beginning of it might have been 19. Actually, it was 19. Now I can't remember. Time slipped away.
It's blurry, right? The years.
You know, we've been up and down on our personnel, up and down. You know, you got to go through it. You got to go through the ups and downs of the personnel to weed out the ones that aren't working and the ones that aren't good and the ones that don't fit into the team, and don't try to shove a square peg in a round hole that's not going to go.
Right.
So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, and I really want to talk about that today, and I know my audience wants to hear it too, because Don, all across the US and Canada, what do we hear all the time? Oh, I can't find any technicians. Well, then when a company finds some technicians and they have a team and they're doing good and they're in their groove, there's often a fear to implement something or to change something. I've heard so often contractors as business owners and leaders being afraid to make their technician do something different or to implement a new process in fear of the technician quitting. And every time I hear that, I can't help but think, wait a minute, we're not supposed to be held hostage by our team and by our employees, right? We don't want to be held hostage, but at the same time, as a business leader, sometimes we find ourselves in that position. So what I've been hearing from you is you seem to not be afraid of that. And so can you tell us more?
Well, I hide the fear very well.
Mm,
Um, and just a little bit more background, just so you kind of know a little bit more of where things are with me is
yeah,
I belong to the national PHCC.
awesome.
I also belong to the state PHCC
Mhm.
of North Carolina. And then I also am the president and founder of the Western North Carolina chapter of the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association. So
Fantastic.
I sit down with other owners and I talk to other owners weekly. Um,
Awesome.
and we talk about the hurdles and the struggles and personal thing. And in fact, last Tuesday, I had a meeting with 6 other contractor owners, and these are contractors from just to give you size reference.
Yeah.
These are contractors from um, the $750,000 range annual income, annual gross to um, I think it's 7 billion. Um,
Wow.
and so and then 2 of them I think are in the 15 million. One of them's in the 5 million.
Hmm. All sorts of sizes.
Couple of us are in the in that million range, and then we have one contractor that's actually nationwide from
Mhm.
north to south, east to west, and they're like I said, I want to say they're 7 billion. I think they're a $7 billion company,
Wow.
and we have the operations manager for the region stationed here, and he belongs to our association. Um, and one of the things that we talked about was staffing.
Hmm.
Um, you know, how do we get people in the door?
Right.
We have done, and I'm sure this is old hat for many people because we've all been struggling with this, and we search and we find and we look for different ways. We have gone so far as to go to guidance counselors,
Hmm.
middle school, high school, junior high school, college. We've even had a couple of our guys and a couple of our contractors go so far as to go to elementary schools
Wow. Talking about the
and
trades.
talking about the trades and trying to get the teachers on board, trying to let the teachers know what's going on so that they can, hopefully,
Hmm.
it's obvious little Johnny or whoever it is not cut out for college. So let's steer him in a different direction. We've tried ride-alongs. We've tried going to the ROTCs. We have a system called Skills USA,
Hmm.
um, and something else, and something that the PACC does, PACC North Carolina does, and PACC National does as well, is they actually have we actually have an apprentice program for the plumbing and heating field.
Okay.
It's an online apprenticeship with your work being the job experience.
Mm.
And so it is structured after a 4-year college system, like, you know, grabbing your books and walking across campus and sitting in a classroom.
Okay.
4-year uh, 4-year schedule, but it's self-paced
Okay.
and it's online. So we've had people graduate. The first people that graduated the plumbing and the heating portion of it, I think there was 2 plumbers that graduated it in 25 months, and I think
Wow.
that 2 or 3 HVAC guys that graduated it in 26 months.
Okay.
Um, so it like I said, it's self-paced.
Mhm.
So that's a really, really nice thing. So what we've done, and one of the things I've done is as I'm talking to people or the new hires or what the case is. I was like, this is the system we have. We have an apprenticeship program. We can enroll you in that system. We pay for the course. We pay for the materials. We pay for it all. We pay you while you're working here, so there's zero debt to you. All we ask is that you repay the favor and at least fulfill your obligation to complete your 1 year, your 2 year, your 3 year, where you're at. And if you do leave us, we encourage you to go to another, and you haven't completed your apprenticeship, we do encourage you to go to another PHCC member that is participating in the apprenticeship program. That way, they're not losing any. They're not losing ground.
Is this something available for any PHCC,
Yes.
member? It's through PHCC?
It's a PHCC national program.
Okay.
So like PHCC Minnesota and Jersey and Texas and all, and first one thing, and PHCC Canada. And I believe we're working with Canada, PHCC Canada right now, I believe, because I actually sit on the state board as well, that we're working with them, and they can, in some form or whatever, use it as well. But their system is different than ours. Canada's, although they're good neighbors, their system is a little bit different than us. But yeah, I mean, you could literally leave a PHCC apprenticeship program in Texas and go to New Jersey and enroll in the same program and virtually
keep it going. Right. Okay. Which sounds like a fantastic program. Have you personally seen some success and been able to raise up some apprentices, and they stayed?
I have 3 people that's currently enrolled in the program. And one of the things about it is that it allows us and allows me, because I can log in as them, look at their progress, look to see where they're struggling, where they need help, where they're doing good. And, and I can jump their tail and say, hey, look, you need to work harder on this section or this section, or I see you're struggling with mathematics, or I see you're with this portion of things, or venting, or whatever the case may be. And it allows us to really push them, and they kind of make it a competition between themselves. So they work really hard on that, and it helps for retainage. So.
Awesome. So tell me about, right now, coming out of COVID-19, we're not really all the way out of it. Some places are more so than others, but where I'm located in Georgia right now, a lot of the restaurants have changed their hours. And so if you drive around town and you try to go to your normal breakfast spot, they might not be open. And there's a sign on the window that says, we can't get help. We don't have enough help, so that's why we're not open. It's not because we're afraid you can't come in because of COVID. It's that they can't find enough workers, right? So that's happening all around my town, maybe even in yours too. There's a shortage of workers. There's so many people, that have stayed home during this and aren't going back to work right now. But my point in that is, when people start going back to work, it's one thing as a business owner to be able to just say, hey, I need somebody to wait tables. You don't need a whole degree or skill or, a lot of job experience for that. So as a business leader, as a business owner, when you have something that you want to implement for your team and you say, okay, guys, this is something that we're going to be doing, and then your technicians say, oh, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to quit, and they walk out on you, you're in a little bit, a much more difficult position than, for example, some of these restaurant owners, because not only do you have to find another technician, but you have to find a technician or an apprentice, somebody that can work with their hands, that has mechanical skills and aptitude, right? So it's not just, hey, we'll hire you for attitude and we'll train you, like we want to say. We all say, oh, let's just hire everybody for attitude and then train them. But to run your company as a plumbing company, you need plumbers, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I appreciate how you said earlier that you hide your fear because you're natural, or you're human, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're human, but you've been able to lead your company and still move forward anyway.
Well, we don't have a choice. I mean, as long as people are alive, there's three things you're going to need. You're going to need electricity, you're going to need heat and air, and you're going to need to be able to wipe your butt. So, yes, I am trying to keep it clean. But, we're always going to have that. And that was one of the things that we spoke about, in the trying to get people, and we're not getting people. So, what I try to do is I try to invest personally in every single person that is here. And, I try very, very hard to invest personally in the individual, to show them that, I'm not afraid to get in that ditch with them. I'm not afraid to get on that roof with them. I'm not afraid to get in that attic or that crawl space. Or
you're not asking them to do things you wouldn't do.
Yeah, I show them. I show them straight up. I'm going to do it. You can do it. I'll outwork you if you don't step up. Simple as that. And I tell them straight up, I'm not here to coddle you. I'm not here to baby you. I'm not here to say, okay, in the past, you'd bring a helper on. The helper would be a gopher. That's what the helper was. The helper was a gopher. They were expected to learn through osmosis and observation. That's the way they were expected to learn.
Okay.
And then you'd say, okay, all right, try your hand at this, or try your hand at that. They were, you had to, they waited for us to invite them into doing something. And we don't do that here. It's more like, okay, I've observed your mechanical abilities. I've observed, X, Y, Z. And if you don't, I'm going to go to the truck and get something. If you don't step in while I'm out at the truck and start doing something, and you want to stand around with your thumb in your pockets and or follow me to the truck and just see what I'm doing or whatever, I have no need for you. Your job is to jump in. If you think you know what's going on, jump in and start working. Show me that you want to do it. We do that. And, and I got to say, listening to Matt and the entire TNFR team has been very encouraging, because there's not one solution that fits. And one of the nice things is that TNFR is you're constantly putting information out there that's outside the box. It's outside the normal thinking, the normal process. And even if it's not something that you yourself I may not implement something that you say directly, it at least spurs my mind of, hey, I can take a variation of X and Y that they were talking about. And what I'm referring to is incentives.
Okay.
You use the system, you use the script, you do that, it works. It's down, it works. Constantly always proposing the lowest cost ability to do a job. It's human nature. 90% of people do it. You're not talking about the best you can do, because and it doesn't matter if the person's in a $4 million house or in a $40,000 trailer. It doesn't matter. That's what you're always going in with. And I can share the guys time and time again, is like, you go in, you present it, you tell them what the best is that you can do, and the customer 9 out of 10 times will surprise you.
Right.
They will choose something that, I didn't think so.
Of course.
I just had them. And one of the things we do is, for attraction of new people, is, and this is something that we talked about in the state, is that there's nothing you can do as an individual company. You're always going to attract one or two, but to get the good ones and to get the people that want to be there, they have to see an environment. Somebody else outside has to see the environment that somebody else is in and say, I want to be in that environment. I want to partake in what they are partaking of, because people don't leave for money. 90% of the time, people don't leave for money. They will leave because of a manager or attitude or atmosphere.
Right. That's what we've always said too. People leave because the boss is a jerk.
That's right. That's right. I know more than that, but, and I'm not gonna stand it anymore. And I tell my guys all the time, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. If you have an idea, tell me.
Yeah.
Just voice it. If it's a good idea, we'll use it. If it's
Mhm.
not a good idea, we may try it just to see, does it actually want to work or
Right.
not? But we're going to try it. One of the things, and the other thing that's huge, this is probably the biggest thing that I can say to any contractor wanting to say, how do I implement TNFR? How do I get my crew onto this system? And TNFR it wasn't built necessarily for an hourly paycheck person
Okay.
as an employee. It was built to offer options because as your honor, if you want to be honorable and you want to be good at what you do,
Yep.
you want to present your customer with some options instead of just, I'm the expert. I know what the hell I'm doing. You pay me 10 grand. I fix your problem. You don't like it? Fine. I'll go to another customer.
Mhm.
Um, we don't want to do that.
No.
What we want to say is, for 10 grand, I can take care of every little thing you have.
Mhm.
But, at the same time, you may want to do an 8 grand or 6 grand or, 1,000 or 800 or whatever the case is. And I can do as good a job. I just do a few less things.
Mhm.
So what would you like me to do?
Yeah.
And TNFR has taken that and put it into a nice refined model that's easy to follow, easy to replicate, and easy to implement. Um, and at the same time, it can incentivize the technicians because you have to get one technician. And it doesn't matter where he is. It doesn't matter if he is your top technician. It doesn't matter if everybody thinks he is the butt kisser of the company. It does
Yeah.
not matter where that person is because their paycheck and their passion, you can't hide.
Okay.
Even though we always say nobody talk about money, I guarantee you once they leave the office, they talk outside the office, they talk at the supply house every day. Well,
Mhm.
boss is paying me 10, the boss is paying me 12, boss is paying me 15. Well, hell, the boss is paying me an extra $100 bonus every week,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. So you get that one person on board,
Mhm.
you get them on board, you show them the incentive plan, you show them the program, you show them what they can do, and you show them what their potential is. And then and I was just having this conversation with a couple of the guys Monday, is that because one of them said, well, aren't we taking advantage of the customer? I'm like, you know what? That's a very good question. And if I was straight flat rate, that'd be a pretty accurate description
Okay.
because there's no options. There's no choices.
Right.
It's, it's item A problem. Solution is going to cost X dollars.
Mhm.
Do you trust me? It's kind of what it is.
Wow. Right.
But TNFR, you choose the right page. Once you choose the right page, you can pick up phone, you can call TNFR, you can call me, you can call one of the other people that uses the system, whatever, and they may say, well, don't base it on the Band-Aid, base it on the silver level, or base it on the bronze level, or base it on whatever the case may be. That way you give your customer the up and down option. You have to give your customer the up down option. If you don't give your customer the up down option, they will always, 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 always grab the lowest priced item.
Mhm.
And you're not showing a good enough value for it. So pick the right page, show them what they can do, let the customer stay in control. Now the customer's telling you what they want to do. And you're not taking advantage of it because it, you know that's the way it is. If they want to choose something less, fine. They have the option to choose something less. It's their decision. And
Mhm.
it's not like you're telling them what to do. And I had a guy, and actually he's so passionate that he actually spread it through everybody else. But then, by the end of the meeting, everybody else was like, "Yeah, let's do that."
Awesome.
And because I used a bonus structure that I was using a bonus structure. I was using a bonus structure like, okay, you had to go from, it started at, let's say it started at $3,000.
Mhm.
Well, you didn't hit the next bonus till you hit $5,000.
Okay.
And there was no in between.
Mm.
So
It
3,100,
was too far apart, too hard to
yeah,
reach.
3,100 and 49.99, you got the same as if you did $3,000.
Right.
So
Okay.
why do I need to go? Why do I need to look for anything else? Why do I need to present any more options? And why do I need to work any harder? Because I'm going to
Of
get the same
course.
bonus at $3,000 that I would get at 49.99.
Okay.
So there's no difference in it.
So
And
you
then,
decreased the spread?
well, actually, I changed it. I changed
Okay.
it from $1. I changed it from $1 because that's the other thing. Nobody likes the word commission because for some reason technicians have a very at least in this neck of the woods, seem to have a very difficult time doing multiplication. And
That's all of us. I mean, it's not my best skill either.
they're kind of like, well, what's 10%
Mhm.
or what's 5%? It's
So make it
easy to
easy.
tell me $1, $2, $3. I can
Okay.
understand those. I can't understand this
Sure.
percentage thing you
Yeah,
magically.
make it clear.
So once I got one guy to understand it, we have switched to a percentage base now of you hit XYZ threshold
Mhm.
and you attain a starting percentage.
Okay.
And for every $1,000 after that, your percentage goes up
Okay.
and you earn so yeah, you didn't earn another dollar between 3,100 and 49.99. But now that you're on 1%, 2%, whatever, yeah, you're gaining that extra money on that extra $1,000, $2,000 or whatever. And
Right.
if you go another $300 for the week, you hit the next threshold and your percentage just went up by 1.2 points, whatever the case is. And they were like going, but how do I make more money? I was like, good point. I says, there's one way to make a lot of money. If you want to make a lot of money in plumbing or HVAC, there's one way and one way only, and that's to be straight commission. That's the way it goes.
Have you heard about Business Uncensored? It's our annual conference for service contractors. Due to COVID, we didn't get to have it last year, but we're so excited to be hosting it again this year in Chattanooga, Tennessee in October. If you feel like your business has been getting off track, or if you really need some time to step away to look at it, register today. The website is 2021BU, like businessuncensored.com. 2021BU.com.
Interesting. And they are on board with that?
Actually, because I hate straight commission. I don't think I do. It's just me. I just that way.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is I've got guys now that are saying, you know what? If you lower my hourly wage,
Uh-huh.
will you increase my bonus percentage?
Mhm.
And I'm like, absolutely. I'll do
Okay.
it all day long. You want to earn more money? I'll take away an hourly wage and we'll just reduce that down and give you more on your bonus percentage. So, and in talking this, because this is kind of a big circle thing, is that, everybody in the field has to be paid X dollars an hour or X percentage. And that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
But I always try to find something new. I'm always trying to wrestle the system. So we figured out a way that I can actually pay Danielle a certain hourly wage plus a certain percentage, and I can pay Dawn a different hourly wage and a different percentage. And I can actually pay Rosalind a different hourly wage and not a percentage, but a fixed bonus system.
Okay.
I can actually have,
Based on what they're comfortable with.
huh?
Based
Yeah.
on what they're comfortable with.
Exactly what the
Okay.
employee or the technician is comfortable with. If they're more comfortable with a dollar system versus a percentage system, then that guy, that's the way he's based. And if another person is more comfortable with a percentage basis rather than an hourly basis or a dollar basis, then that's the way he's based. So we
Interesting.
actually custom build that pay structure across the line, and it's made everybody a lot more comfortable.
Okay.
As they
Now,
go
Don,
on.
you're talking about a lot of great things here, and I love what you're saying, and I really appreciate this information, and I know everybody does. I want to clarify. So you use the new flat rate,
Mhm.
and when your technicians are using the system, there's 5 options that they present the customer on every service call. And
Yep.
it sounds like because they are making money, through the pay scales that you've set, it sounds like customers are choosing higher options than that Band-Aid. So your technicians are, am I wrong to assume that they're following the new flat rate script? They're presenting options. They're letting the customer choose so that they don't back the customer into the corner and make the choice for them. They're learning to not prejudge when they show up to a home and say, oh, this customer is only going to take X, Y, or Z, and they present their options anyway. The customers are choosing, and then the technician is on the pay scale that they select with you and your company, and then they're able to make a great income and all around happiness, morale.
Yeah, and the
Good?
thing is that yeah. So what it is yes, they do go out, they do present, they do offer that. Okay,
Mhm.
and it's like I tell them all the time. It's like, look, you're doing nothing but Band-Aid.
Mhm.
That's all you're selling. If I pull up your last 20 jobs,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to see 18 Band-Aids.
Okay.
Wrong. You're going too high. You need to start lower. Set your feet on the, somewhere in between. You have to give the customer a lower option. Instead of saying your base is the Band-Aid, your base needs to be something a little higher. Your target needs to be something a little higher so that you can do a better job. But if the customer has to do something less, it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything.
Mhm.
And they can do it. And here's the thing. You want to make more money? Learn the system.
Right.
Learn the system.
Okay, so if they
Be
don't know the
confident
system
about what
good,
you do and learn that script. Learn it like the back of your hand. If you know it, if you know that system and that script like the back of your hand, which is no selling, there's no selling involved.
right.
If you learn the script, you can always, regardless of what the customer is saying, you can always come back to the script. You can always go back and forth. And it allows you to be a lot more comfortable with it. And the more comfortable you are in presenting it, the customer is more comfortable with you. And the customer may choose a higher option, the customer may choose a lower option, but that you've done the best you can do. And so yes, they always present the options. They always present those 5 levels. And I mean, yeah, do they eliminate the Band-Aid from time to time because that's the right page to be on? Sometimes they have to do that because
Right. And
the next
what Don's
level up is
saying,
too high.
yeah, so for what, in case anybody doesn't know what Don's saying, is every once in a while you'll show up on a job and the bottom option, the quick fix, get in and just, plug a hole, is not the right option for a customer, and it could be a safety issue. And so
Right.
sometimes you have to take that bottom option off the table and say, Mr. Customer, because of the scenario here, I mean, you can't even do that when, the situation is too extreme and it's not even safe, or whatever the reason
Right,
is.
right.
But don't worry, I have these 4 options on top. Which one would you like? And
And the
that's
thing
not all the
about
time,
it,
but it does happen.
and although there are, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on what category you're in, the next level up, maybe that's too high.
Right. So you stay on the same page, you just eliminate the bottom option there
Right.
and still give them the 4 options.
Right. And that way you're still giving them, those options to do. So the guys have learned that there's not one thing to do.
Right. Now,
So
Don, I have to ask you, when you hire a technician, or, maybe when you first implemented the new flat rate, if you had some technicians that had been with you for a long time and they took a look at the system and they said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. How did you get your team on board?
well,
Did you lose any techs? Wait, I was talking at the same time. Let me stop. You fired some?
I fired 2 people
Okay.
because, this is too tough. Why do that? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to try to snowball. I'm not going to try to do. I was like, okay, fine. You don't want to do this, and that's not what you're going to do. No, well, I'm the one that made the decision. I'm the one that invested the money, and I'm the one that saddled this horse and hitched it to this wagon. And if you're not on board, I'm not going to have you drag me and the team down. So bye, leave, go someplace else.
And
You're not
that's the
happy
fear.
here.
Yeah,
So
that's the fear that so many contractors across the US are facing of if I implement change, my techs will leave or I'll have to let them go. And then that fear of, well, what am I going to do without them? But you were looking for
and
techs when you found the last one, and you're looking for techs still, and you
I'm
get
still
people and
looking
your
for
team
that.
good. You
I'm
always are, and you bring
always
some
on.
in, right? Yeah. And it's
But, like I said, sometimes we have to think outside the box.
mm,
We have to think outside the box of how to incentivize, because for one person it may be time off.
right.
Okay, great. You hit this threshold. I'll give you a paid day off.
hmm
How's that sound for you?
So are
Oh,
you
hey,
finding?
that's me. That's what I want. You know,
Yeah. So for example, hey, I want you to implement this change for me or do this new process in the company. So before you roll something out, are you looking at your team saying, okay, what's going to incentivize them to want to do this new process?
yes. And I try to figure out, and that's the hard part. That's not an easy thing. You got to ask a lot of questions and probe around, and you got to kind of
Yeah.
figure out, okay, this guy just had a brand new baby,
hmm
and all of what life brings it with the brand new baby. And my number one tech, his boy just started t-ball like last week.
Awesome.
Okay, and this guy, I could call him at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, listen, got a job, we can't say no,
hmm
it's a contractual obligation, and I need you to drive 2.5 hours south to go to the job. You're going to get there about 6. You're gonna have to work all day and do it. And you know what? I wouldn't even finish the sentence, and he'd say, "No problem, I'm gone.
Sounds
Send
way.
me the information. Which way am I going?" I was like, "Well, you're headed south. Great. There's only 2 roads to head south, so start driving south, and I'll send you the information and figure it out when you get there." That's the way he was.
Right.
He's still that way, but I can't do that with him anymore because he wants to spend time with his boy on T-ball, because it just brings such enlightenment, just such
Of
joy to
course.
him. So it's like, hey, look, you know, how would you like to have more time off but not lose money?
Okay.
Uh, yeah, duh. Well, great. So when you hit this threshold,
hmm
what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a paid day on
Awesome.
me. It doesn't go on your payroll.
hmm
It's not reflected in the records.
hmm
It's not that. That's me.
hmm
I will just, I'll give you that day. I'll give you a paid day.
hmm
What day would you like? And he's like, well, instead of a day, can I just do like a couple hours here and there because I want to get up early enough and spend time with him and do this and do this and do this? I'm like, great, no
Yep.
problem.
Yep.
So this is a team effort.
It is.
And so, hey guys,
Mm-hmm.
so and so is going to take off a little early on this day and this day. And that may mean that a couple of you are going to have to pick up his slack.
Yep.
Okay. So just remember though, that if you need something other, he's going to pick up your slack.
That's right.
So
What you're
they have
describing
to
is a,
have that
a
team
two-way
mentality.
loyalty.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
So
two-way loyalty. And you're extending it to them and they're extending it back to you. So if you call at 3 in the morning, they're going to jump up and go to that job. But they also know that you're going to let them off at 2 o'clock to make it to that T-ball game.
I'm going to let them, if they need off or whatever, and the other guys know that, hey, he's got to get
Yeah.
off to be with his son. I'm going to want off next week to, do that anniversary thing with my wife. So
Right. I'd
I'll
love
just
to
let
see more
you
of that in the
understand.
trades. Yeah, I'd love
And
to
that's
see
what we
more of
do.
that. I think that's fantastic. And you found a way to do it. It's so easy to get stuck in the no, everybody has to work, 8 to 7 or 8 to 5 or
Mhm.
whatever, 8 to 8. But the reality is respecting their home lives and respecting what's important to them as an employer should not be a lost art. It's really
We
important.
shouldn't. We
hmm
try to do that for them, and we build that as an environment.
Yeah,
If we
and
build
that's your
that as an
culture.
environment, people outside the company,
hmm
and I tell
Good
everybody,
point.
first new hire, I was like, if you want to work here, great. But
hmm
first, go talk to them.
Okay.
Go talk to those guys and see if this is something that you want to do or not. Go talk to them and see if this is a company where you want to be. Let them
right.
tell you what the environment is, not me. Don't listen to me,
Right.
okay? Because I'm the boss and I'm going to blow smoke up your butt, and you know that. So
Right.
go
That
talk to
says a
them
lot,
and
though. Don,
let
that
them
says a
tell
lot
you.
that you trust your team, to speak to your new candidates like that. That's great.
Well, they all have to help each other.
Mhm.
And if and I've had some of my guys walk in the office 5 minutes after a new interview, a new potential hire walk in and say, no,
Right. I
no.
kind of appreciate that, actually.
And it's like, well, why? Because he's got this and this and this. He can do this, this, and this. He won't fit.
Right.
And I can tell you
They're
right now,
protecting your team culture.
and that's what you got to create. So you create that team culture,
Yeah. And you protect it.
incentivize them multiple ways, present the system, listen to TNFR, grasp as much information out of it as you can, utilize it. They are there. It doesn't matter. I can call Suzanne, I can call Danielle, I can call Matt, I can call Rodney, I can call any of you. And it
Yeah.
depends on what my question is as to who I call,
Sure.
and say, hey, XYZ, and just, glean as much information. TNFR is probably the most freely giving information company that I've ever dealt with. I mean, they
Wow.
TNFR just, if you're a member of that team, if you're a member of that company, if you're a customer of that company, they're constantly doing it. I don't have that information, but hey, let me talk to Rodney, or hey, let me talk to Matt, or let me talk to Liz, or let me talk to Rod, whoever, and I'll get you an answer. Or, you know what, I'm not the one for that. So I'll have Matt call you, or I'll have Rodney call you, or whatever. Because, I've called Rodney actually, I think I made a mistake, and I called him on his anniversary and he answered the phone,
I bet he did.
and it took like 20 minutes out of his time. And then he says, well, listen, I'm kind of having an anniversary dinner with my wife. And I was like, oh shit. And I hung up the phone on her real quick because I wasn't expecting it. But
Mm.
that's what TNFR brings to the table for me. I mean, they're in it as much as I'm in it, and they're willing to put themselves out there for it. It just, we can't be afraid. And the way we conquer that fear is we find, typically that fear is coming from a place of, this is how I've always done it.
Mm.
And we got to find new ways to do it.
Yeah, we do. The landscape's changing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, Don. It's so kind. I appreciate the kind words, but I really appreciate your story and your honesty. It's difficult to be a business owner. It's difficult to be a contractor, and you're doing it and you're thriving. So very cool. Thank you for sharing everything that you've shared.
One thing I will say, just as, and this is something that we talked about, the last thing I'll tell you is this: as contractors, we cannot be afraid. And this is one of the things that gives me encouragement, is we cannot be afraid, as we sometimes can be, of our employees leaving,
Mhm.
because one, there's always more people coming in
Mhm.
to an area.
Yep.
If you're busy today, you're going to be busy tomorrow.
Yep.
And you're going to go from, this is what's going to happen. We're seeing it with COVID. We're seeing it with with supply. We're seeing it with raw materials. We're seeing it with shipping. We're seeing it with shortages. We're seeing it every week we go through. There's a percentage increase on raw material. So probably 3-4 times a week we're seeing
Oh,
raw
it's
material
crazy right now. I know. It's
going
crazy.
through the roof.
Mhm.
So you're just going to get to the point of, instead of 10,000 plumbers serving an area of 10,000 people,
Mhm.
you're going to go to 5,000 plumbers serving an area of 100,000 people,
Mhm.
because fewer and fewer and fewer people want to work, which is going back into the people that are demanding work. And so the supply is going to get less and less and less. Now you have, the law of supply and demand.
Mhm.
And, maybe we just need to reevaluate what we're doing as owners and see if we can, because you're never going to ride the same wave for a long time.
Yeah, and in that scenario you're describing, if that's where we're headed, it's our job as owners to be very strategic and think, okay, what's the market that I'm going to work in? What's the neighborhood that I'm going to work in? what kind of
Mhm.
calls, who's my target customer, and redefining that target customer again, and keeping the loyalty, the two-way loyalty with your customers. You want
That's
to
right.
keep that loyalty with your customers. We could talk about that separately all day long.
It's a different topic, totally.
Yeah, I know it. Cool. Well, is there anything that you would like to leave us? Any short little extra nugget? Any jokes that you have or books that you're reading?
I have a lot of off-color comments that I have not made during this, and I'll spare you those. But really, all I can say is, there are a ton of resources out there for us as contractors to use. There's typically more resources out there than we even know how to use or that we could use. So I would recommend that if you're a business owner and you're struggling with the way things are, is to invest into a coach. And there's a lot of coaches out there, and a lot of them cost a lot of money.
Sure.
But there's a lot of coaches out there that have been around for decades. They're worth their salt. They don't cost a whole lot of money. And you can glean and get, and they will direct you in a good direction. They will help you. And probably one of the biggest things that helped me was learning that I perform better when I'm with a coach, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, whatever the case is.
Yeah, we all do.
We need that as owners too. And so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to look for a coach. Don't be afraid to look for a resource that can help you that's looking from the outside in.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you so much for that, Don. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you for taking the time out of your morning to share with us and our audience. And you guys heard him say it. He said you can call him anytime. I know I heard.
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people that says, "Hey, TNFR told me to give you a call." I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to anybody about TNFR and has it helped me, and what you guys have done for me. And it's more than just a system. It's far more than just a system. It's a good system. Don't get me wrong. TNFR system is a good system. That's the whole reason why I even started it. But I've learned that with TNFR, I've got a lot more than just a system.
Oh, awesome. We're so glad to have you on board and to be working with you and partnering with you, and so proud of your accomplishments and your team. Sounds like you're really doing a great job as a leader. So thank you for sharing with us today. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, Danielle. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate how candid Don was in this conversation. He just shared from the heart that he has fears like the rest of us do, and other contractors all over the US and Canada. And I love how connected he is and how he's in on the conversations that are happening in the plumbing world. So thanks so much for being with us today. If you need anything, feel free to reach out to him at any time. And I know that he'd be happy to talk to you about where you're at in your business. And here at the New Flat Rate, give us a call if we can help you with your processes or with your pricing or with ideas for technician hiring and retaining. We'd love to continue the conversation. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the New Flat Rate podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to know more about the New Flat Rate, please visit us at tnfr.us.